Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Designware tutorial. So one of the main reasons that people choose Designware over other app builders or website builders is because they want to make sure that the project is going to be fully responsive on any screen size without having to actually redesign for every screen size. But sometimes they get confused with how the drag and drop works in Designware. So today I'm going to show you how to add containers to your canvas and how to use the layout settings to make your pages absolutely responsive, just like this one. So what most of us do when we start using Designware for the very first time is that we open a blank page and then we start adding content to the canvas using this panel on the left. And there's often a moment of confusion when you realize that you can't really place it wherever you want and resize it. So as you can see, it goes directly to the top and you can't really grab it or move it. And if you try to add another block, it goes automatically right under. And it's because Designware uses relative positioning and not absolute positioning. We've published a tutorial about relative versus absolute positioning pretty recently, and I really encourage you to check it out if you're not familiar with the concept. But just to summarize, absolute positioning is when you place and resize elements on a canvas, just like if you were drawing on paper. And no matter what you do, it sits exactly where you want, and it's super easy, but it's not responsive. Like here, for instance, you can see that elements kind of shrink proportionally, but it's not responsive design. Or you'll have elements running off screen, which is guaranteed to happen across devices. So absolute positioning is not the way that professional design is produced. So relative positioning, on the other hand, is when blocks get placed relative to others. And this is where containers have a role to play. So you use containers to define how elements placed inside them are going to be organized. And containers are just like regular blocks, by the way, and any block can be a container to other blocks. So let's take this one for example. So I placed two images inside it, and if you look at the panel on the left, you can see the hierarchy between the different containers. So the reason I use a container instead of just placing two images right on the page is that it's going to enable me to define layout settings that are going to make my content look exactly the way I want on every screen size, without having to redo the actual design or use media queries. So for instance, if I wanted to center those two images, all I have to do is select the container, either by clicking here or here. And I can also select the child element, in this case, the image, and just press escape to go to the parent container, just like this. So once I've selected the container, all I need to do is go to the layout settings here, and then click on center. You can also make it a column, add maximum space around it, or make it like equally spaced out. You can also decide if you want content to wrap or scroll. So for instance, let's say you have more than two images here. You can say, nope, I don't want those images to wrap, I want them to scroll instead. So containers are here for you to apply your settings that are going to make your page look exactly the way you want on any device. So let's scratch that and say that I want to build a blog page just like I showed you at the beginning of this video. So where do I start? I need to make sure that I can actually center it first. I also want to make sure that the whole section is contained within a more narrow space for readability purposes. So what I'm going to do instead is start by adding a container that will hold the entire blog section right at the top of my page. So what I want to do next is add what we call a content area. So it's a 1000 pixel white container that will hold everything nicely at the center of the page. Let me give it a off-white color so that you can see it better. And let's talk about those blue placement indicators here. So when you drag a block to your canvas, you can either drop it besides an existing block, in which case you're going to see those thin blue bars like this one, or you can drop it within an existing block, in which case you're going to see a large blue section just like this. And a quick tip to help with block placements. If you got it wrong, just open the page content menu here and drag and drop the element right where you want it. So as you can see, the title is aligned to the left by default. So what I need to do is select its parent container and change the layout settings so that everything within this save zone is centered. And now I need to add 2 other layers of containers, one that will hold the 2 columns together and one per column, so that we can apply layout settings at every level. Then I'm adding my images and text. And then I want to duplicate this column to tweak it and make it the second column. Okay, so it's getting close to what we wanted to build, but those 2 columns shouldn't be left aligned. Earlier we said that we wanted everything within this off-white container to be centered, and it actually is. But we need to also make sure that all the elements within the gray containers are centered relative to each other. So again, what we need to do is select the parent containers of those columns, in this case the gray container, and apply a layout settings here and click center. And what all these layers of containers allow you to do is have full control over how elements should behave. So for instance, if you wanted this column to be wider and aligned as a row, you could. So that's it. That's what containers are and how to use them. The tutorial was short, but if you want to learn more about responsive design, I really encourage you to check out this other tutorial that I mentioned earlier. It also covers sizing and switching from different views. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos about how to build no-code apps and websites. See you next time.